Picture this: 2 million hungry people wandering through a scorching desert, their food supplies exhausted, their stomachs growling, and their children crying from hunger. This isn't a modern refugee crisis. This is the nation of Israel, just weeks after witnessing the most spectacular escape in human history. The year is approximately 1446 BC. The Israelites have just fled Egypt after 400 years of slavery, crossing the Red Sea on dry ground as God miraculously parted the waters. But now, in the wilderness of sin, between Elim and Sinai, reality hits hard. Freedom tastes bitter when your stomach is empty. Moses and Aaron, the leaders God chose to guide his people, face an angry crowd. The people's complaints echo across the desert. If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. These words from Exodus 16:3 reveal a startling truth about human nature. In their hunger, they're romanticizing their slavery, forgetting the brutal whips and impossible quotas. But God hears their cries, not their complaints, but their genuine need. The Lord speaks to Moses with a promise that will become one of history's most remarkable demonstrations of divine care. I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. Notice God's plan isn't just about feeding people. It's about teaching them to trust Him daily. He could have provided a month's worth of food at once, but instead, He chooses a daily miracle that requires daily faith. That evening, quail cover the camp providing meat, but the real wonder comes with dawn. As the dew evaporates, something extraordinary appears on the desert floor. The Israelites emerge from their tents to find thin flakes covering the ground like frost. They ask each other, "What is it?" In Hebrew, manhu, which gives us the word manna. Moses explains this supernatural bread. It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. The instructions are specific. Each person should gather about 2 quarts daily. No more, no less. Those who gather much won't have too much, and those who gather little won't have too little. God's provision is perfectly calibrated to human need. The manna itself defies natural explanation. It tastes like wafers made with honey, according to Exodus 16:31. It appears 6 days a week but never on the Sabbath. When people try to hoard it overnight, it breeds worms and becomes foul, except on the 6th day when they're commanded to gather double portions for the Sabbath. This isn't just ancient history. It's a masterclass in trust that speaks directly to our modern anxieties. How often do we worry about tomorrow's provision? How frequently do we try to hoard security instead of trusting God's daily care? The manna teaches us that God's provision comes not in bulk shipments, but in daily deliveries. Some Israelites, predictably, test the boundaries. They try to gather extra, ignoring God's instructions. Their hoarded manna rots, teaching them that security comes not from stockpiling, but from trusting the provider. Others venture out on the Sabbath seeking manna that isn't there, learning that God's rhythms include rest and trust. For 40 years, this miracle continues. Every morning except Sabbath, fresh bread covers the ground. 2 million people fed daily by supernatural provision. No farming, no baking, no grocery stores, just daily dependence on God's faithfulness. The deeper lesson emerges clearly. God wants relationship, not just survival. He could have made them self-sufficient farmers immediately. Instead, He chose a method that required them to look up every single day, to acknowledge their need, to trust His timing. This wilderness classroom teaches principles we desperately need today. God's provision is sufficient but not excessive. His timing is daily, not stockpiled. His method builds faith, not independence. The manna stops only when they enter the promised land and can eat its produce. showing that God's provision adapts to our circumstances but never abandons us. When Jesus later declares, "I am the bread of life" in John 6:35, he's connecting himself to this wilderness miracle. Just as physical manna sustained physical life daily, spiritual bread sustains spiritual life continually. The lesson remains unchanged. Trust God's daily provision, gather what you need for today, and wake up tomorrow expecting His faithfulness again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification button so you won't miss the new videos.